iconic teen dramas have failed Black women. That's just period. That's just point blank. Once you finally realize something that has been in front of our eyes this whole time, you will quite literally be in shock. I don't care if I'm the first, the third, or the 300th person to talk about this. I will talk about it. Because one thing I'm gonna do is talk about it.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment. Now come on now.
Some of your most iconic teen TV dramas have failed Black women, and that's just point blank period, okay? It's a tale as old as time. The token Black character, the character that is stereotyped, the character that is meant to pick up the brute of everybody. When I said Black female TV character who been done wrong, why did you think about Bonnie Bennett? Quickly, why did you think about Bonnie Bennett? Think about why you thought about that. These characters I'm going to mention today were on all different shows. Were written in these teen dramas, were very damning and eerily similar, which makes me think that this is not a mistake from Hollywood, but more so a choice when they want to choose about and talk about representation. At least back in that time. Now it's gotten a little bit better, but not really. And I had to bring a now example so y'all can understand. With the era of TV now, people have tried to get better with that, but a lot of times they still fall into these same stereotypes because at the end of the day, they don't have Black writers on the set. And if they do, those Black writers are pressured to conform and they still have to get their, their storylines and their plots for the characters approved. And sometimes they ain't even feeling all that, but that's the... And so I think the biggest thing is that people are like, oh, well, what should we do about it now? What should we do? Watch Black stuff written by Black people. We can always put pressure onto Hollywood executives, onto television networks, things of that nature. So while they're being progressive, to also not fall into those same types of patterns. Okay, so the Black pattern.
I'm not Black, I'm OJ. Okay.
Hey, what's up, you guys, and welcome back to Chanel's World. Yeah. Today, I am talking about something that I'm so passionate about. I'm actually probably gonna record this like 3 or 4 times because I'm so passionate about this. I realized on my platform, yes, I love all things TV and pop culture. We love all things TV and pop culture, and this being a TV and pop culture thing is so prevalent and so relevant today, and it just kind of shows you what you were watching as a little girl, what you were watching as a teenager, how those things were reinforcing these negative stereotypes that Black women were dealt with and were left to face and was left to seen as normal. And I'm gonna get into, if you did not notice this, if you did not know this, then I am going to drop you some knowledge today, y'all. Literally, you need to get your wine, get your... Like, it gets stressful when we talk about this, okay? Because once as a Black woman, I started watching this again, I started to become triggered because even like some of my favorite shows, they had such these harmful stereotypes, and why the only Black character in most of these shows had the worst stereotypes and was done the wrongest. I hated it, and I had to put it into words, and I had to share it with you guys. So if you feel the same way as me, or you don't, or you want to argue, whatever you want to do, here in Chanel World, we talk all things TV pop culture. I'll be so excited to have you as a citizen. Love you so much. Let's go ahead and get into the video. Again, Black women have been represented in the same toxic patterns and ways, despite being on different shows, networks, having different writers, having different storylines, different setups and scenarios. There's still 4 similar patterns that is found, which in each of these characters I'm going to be talking about today, these shows and the networks in general. And as all of these shows are teen-led or teen dramas, although the characters are 36 and up, it really was kind of reinforcing this narrative subliminally about Black women. A lot of your characters on these shows that had a lot of opportunity to be like just so much better and to have actual plot didn't. And this isn't something that I don't feel like hasn't been discussed. Like, I looked it up on YouTube, and I've been seeing conversations and things here and there. These fan bases are still alive and well today, even though a lot of these shows have aired as early as 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 15 years ago. A lot of these fan bases are still alive and well, and these fan bases were teens and children when they were watching and indulging this. And so subconsciously, they may have certain biases and things about Black women that you would have never known because they were watching The Vampire Diaries and nobody cared about Bonnie, and Bonnie had to die a million times and sacrifice herself all the time for everybody to survive, okay? Now, as I'm older, it makes me look to make sure that TV and the Hollywoods and the networks are representing Black women correctly, and where I put my dollars into and what movies I choose to go see and things of that nature. But it also makes me realize, like, dang, some of these stereotypes, like, they really try to ferment into a young mind. You gotta think about why they actually did that. Like, there are 4 major patterns to the point, 4 major patterns. The first one is the unnecessary romanticization of pain and sacrifice. So when we talk about the unnecessary romanticization of pain and sacrifice, the main character for this is the character that I was going to talk about, the character that you probably care most about within this lineup or not, and that is Bonnie Bennett.
Speaking of your guilt, how's Caroline?
She's much better.
You're welcome.
No, you're welcome.
Why am I welcome?
You live to see another day.
No good deed goes unpunished with you, does it?
Oh. I'm sorry. You were saying?
Now, Bonnie Bennett is going to be the main portion of this, but it really pertains to all of these characters. And Bonnie Bennett is probably my most frustrating character to have to watch grow and develop. And even with the stringy storyline that she had, like, still find these ways to these things. And seeing this, thinking about it, it was almost like, wow, I've really just been made to think that this was okay. One thing about it, Bonnie is always constantly sacrificing herself for others, especially her white counterparts. Mind you, she died so many times. She became a tether to the dead. People would go through her to the other side and come back, this and that nature. Like, she was always there as a plot line to save Elena, Damon, and Stefan and Caroline, and seldomly was she there to save anything of her own and of herself. Not that that never happened, but a lot of times it did not. And the way she was always coming to these people's rescue, and they did not give a damn. Like, wow, like, oh my God, like, this is already making me upset. This is already making me so upset. Bonnie loses her grandmother. She loses her father. She doesn't even have her own happiness, and they don't even really care about her grief. They don't, as a Black woman, why would they care about her grief? You see what it already does to you, start to reinforce things. Oh, when Bonnie loses someone, let's go over for one episode and move on. Meanwhile, we've been on this whole 6 season stint because Elena's parents died, and nobody forced Elena to get over her parents' death. Elena brought up her parents dying every single chance she get. I only heard Bonnie Bennett talking about her grandmother 3 times, and the 3rd time was when she conjured her up from the dead to get her to have her out. Like, this is sick. Bonnie is never allowed to have personal happiness. Is forced to suppress her magic multiple times to help others. She's forced to act as if she's not as powerful as she really is, even though it is a part of her core identity. Well, when she finds love, and I talked about this in the Vampire Diaries video because it's made me so upset with Stefan, but it's like the minute she actually finds love, the minute she finds an inch of happiness, it's taken away from her without a second thought. And may I add it, unnecessarily. There was no benefit, nor there was no consequence to Enzo being alive. I just want to say, Elena was in a casket for 2 seasons. And then it's like, let's talk about how y'all didn't want Bonnie and Damon together. Y'all didn't want Bonnie and Damon together, but you wrote it so well. You wrote it so well. Only for her to end up a forever best friend. Get the fuck. Pain and sacrifice. Romanticization is not really directly stating like, oh, I love to be in pain and sacrifice. But it's showing that every time Bonnie goes through something, she gets stronger. Every time Bonnie loses somebody, she grows stronger. Every time Bonnie leaves love, she finds a deeper sense of power, and it's all in pain. Why does it have to be in pain? Why does she have to not find her power when she's putting on a new dress, or when she's being beautiful, or when she's having her lover, or when she's having her way? There were so many characters that got unnecessary happiness. But Bonnie Bennett, who sacrificed the most out of all of her counterparts, out of all of her main cast counterparts, couldn't even find love. And then Enzo died, and she screamed to the top of her lungs, and it made her stronger yet again. Do y'all not see what is happening? And I know you're like, okay, Chanel, yeah, that's Bonnie Bennett. We know she was done wrong. Okay, but that's not just her. It's not just her. It's not. Can we talk about Tony Topaz, romanticization of pain and sacrifice? She took on the burden of being a Southside serpent, like a social justice warrior.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
But yeah, she was a lesbian, closeted, with a girlfriend, a homophobic, weird, witchy parent, grandmothers. It was all in the background and in the light of Cheryl.
I usually do the honors.
Not today, Cha-Cha. I was born for this moment.
It wasn't into Toby Topaz at all. Except for when it was time for her to ride Freedom Riders. And you know what, Riverdale? We got a bone to pick with
Don't forget about the random baby.
We got a bone to pick with you and we will talk about it. But let's continue on with the video. This was so damning because this trope literally reinforces the harmful strong black woman stereotype. It is a harmful trope. Black women are not inherently made stronger than other women. We are left to deal with things and we're not given any other relief or hope. And we have to carry those things and we have to be burdened and we become bitter by these things. It's not natural to want to be a strong black woman. Why do I have to be a strong black woman? Why am I just not a strong woman? Because you equate my skin. You equate who I am to my strength. And really, my strength comes from my mind. It comes from my education. It comes from what I've had to deal with in my independence. It don't got nothing to do with my skin. You could see me and I could be the weakest bitch out there. And I'm sorry, I'm really trying not to cuss, but I get passionate. And when I get passionate, I start cussing, but I love Jesus, I promise. It's conditioning. It's literal. The Vampire Diaries was on for 6 seasons. Riverdale was on for 8 seasons? God, I still haven't watched the last episode of Riverdale. And it's like, it was conditioning to see this. Subliminally, subconsciously, you think it's okay and it's not. It's not. You know, it prevented the characters from having the same level of depth, having the same level of love and of quality, because it was always about them sacrificing and losing. And always coming up short. And always coming up on the second buck. And always coming up with the shortest end of the stick of the straw. Just compared to the white counterparts. I'm not to say that they ain't went through stuff within. Because Elena, God knows she wasn't worth a damn. But she went through a lot. But I'm talking about the black female characters in TV teen dramas. And if that offends you, it's because you know that you've seen this. The second one is undeveloped storylines and sidelining. And what does this mean? When black female characters with potential are introduced, it's either writing them off, writing them down to nothing, giving them minimal screen time, or reducing their role to simply be the supporting role of the white character cast, right? And I want to talk about this with Josie McCoy, even with Emily Fields. You know, in Pretty Little Liars, Emily Fields is supposed to be the it girl. She's supposed to be the it, but it's all about Allison and A. They don't even, and then her love is still pain because she being, you know.
This, be nice. I'm finding it. It take you that long to find it? It does.
The girl that you kissing is bullying you because you're both gay. Why? And why do you as the only black main character in Pretty Little Liars need to be gay? It's nothing wrong with being gay, but why do you need to be gay? Why do you gotta deal with the phobia? Let one of them other lying bitches deal with the phobia, but why do you gotta deal with it, Emily? Why? Why were you written that way? Cause this is real. Nobody talks about it, and I'm not gonna talk about it.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
Period. Like, no, the main character I chose for this was Josie McCoy. Josie McCoy was a black singer from Riverdale, you know, Josie and the Pussycat Dolls. She had a little bit of supernatural power, but she was cut and sent to Katie Keene, with Katie Keene as the, you know, supporting black character or whatever. And Katie Keene was canceled because nobody gave a fuck about Katie Keene. First of all, introduced as a lead, but pushed to the background. Like, she starts as a main character in Riverdale. Like, I want y'all to understand that Josie was written as one of the main characters of Riverdale, but was quite literally sidelined. While some of these characters that are the main character of Riverdale really didn't need to stay more than 2-3 seasons of being the main character. Like, the way they wrote out literally like erased Josie's influence. Like, they got rid of the band, they got rid of Josie, and mind you, this is on a show where every season there's a musical, where every season there's an episode we never asked for of y'all singing. But you took out probably the best singer in her band, but you let Archie sing? Are you?
Again. Again. Nothing new, nothing changed, same old shit.
Josie and the Pussycat Dolls were a main part of the comics, and as somebody who read the Archie comics, I was very upset when her character was written out. She does not get her own storylines. I mean, Betty, Veronica, Cheryl, they're all getting their own deep and evolving plot, and Josie, as really only one of the main characters that is black and a woman on Riverdale, quite literally only has a plot of her father rejecting her career.
Boring.
And then she's written off, like I said. And it's like her character is used to propel everybody else's stories, but it's never meant to give her her own story and her own life. This last season of Riverdale was quite literally a cluster. So we could have had a few episodes that were building to Josie's character. It doesn't have to be every single episode like we do with Betty and Archie and Veronica. It's the same with Bonnie Bennett. Elena and Caroline had the deep character arcs and love interest, and they were always in these love scenes with different. Can you come to think about it, how many people did Bonnie Bennett fall in love with other than Enzo? Which is why it hurt me so bad when they killed Enzo, and I was the only person that really showed her giving a fuck about and loving. We see Elena making out with Damon, making out with Stefan, kissing Matt. Who gives a fuck about Matt? Caroline kissing Tyler, kissing Klaus. Everybody else gets a frolic, or the whole friend group gets a frolic around and kiss vampires and werewolves and original vampires and killers. And the one person I kissed on and actually fell in love with got snatched from me. You had 2 men that's in love with you, Elena. I would never. You should have got the Cassie and told Stefan to stop. I'm not playing. Y'all did my girl dirty. Man, can we talk about Hazel Aiden? Degrassi, the next generation. Like, there was something there. Like, she was really just a girlfriend, but there was something there. They talked about her being muscle for one episode. And then nobody gave a damn. It's so damning because it sends the message to Black girls that they are not interesting enough to carry their own narratives. When the stories are constantly getting sidelined, it reinforces the idea that we're only placed to support our white counterparts, specifically within those shows and in real life. Pattern number 3, the extreme lack of agency. Now, Malika Williams and the downfall, the disrespect of Malika Williams, I actually feel like we really need to talk about this because I feel like ABC Family really did her dirty. Before we talk about that, I just want to say thank you guys so much for getting to the midpoint of the video. If you are here and you enjoyed it so far, come subscribe, okay? At Chanel's World, we talk all things TV and pop culture, and I really appreciate it. A like, comment, share, subscribe, even a dislike is free, and I really appreciate it. We're growing in citizens here. We have 409 citizens at the time of this video. Now, I'm so thankful and excited that you all continue to support me. And let me know in the comments, what character do you think of when I talk about Black female TV characters who have been done wrong? Because unfortunately, there's a lot of them, and I don't like that.
I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay.
Black female characters are often denied control of their own stories. The romantic, personal, emotional, it's all directed by outside things happening with other characters, and often they don't get to make decisions that contribute to their personal fulfillment. And this is really found within Malika Williams from Good Trouble. Now, I feel like I need to do a whole video on Malika Williams because I think she was a missed opportunity for Good Trouble. Besides her being the only main Black character, which was like, okay, I guess we can have 6 variations of white, 1 Asian, and 1 Black. I feel like that's what people think DEI is. Anyway, she was done wrong, right? But especially in her storyline, because she actually had a storyline, but it was so centered around everybody else. Even the decisions that she made were never effectively because it's what she wanted to do, but what she knew was right for the current situation and the moment, even when it came to love. So one thing about it, it relied heavily around her activism, right? It often felt that she was forced into a role where she had to sacrifice her personal life for the cause, for the greater being. And real life, you will. Real life, when you give yourself to the cause like Malika did, you will have to sacrifice your time and a lot of your personal time and a lot of your personal goals and aspirations. You have to make a lot of decisions that are not for you, that is based, what's good for the people, what's good for, whether I feel like protesting, is it something that's going to effectively reach my brothers and sisters? Is it something that's going to put out a message to this person, right? So a lot of this stuff, you don't, have your own personal decision making when you do, but some things, that were core to her, like her own traditions, her own whatever, that wasn't rooted in the cause. I didn't know much of Malika outside of her job, her activism, protesting, and her polyamic relationship. I don't even want to talk about that. But I don't even want to talk about that right now. Like, she was consistently torn between her career, her relationships, her activism. Like, she really could not just exist and enjoy her experience. It was always like coming up as a lesson or something like that. And I just really didn't like that. Besides work, career, family, and these relationships, which I don't even want to talk about why was Malika always settling, but you know, her journey was more so always about the greater good of everybody else versus her own desires. And I didn't like that. You know, she embodies that trope because her storyline is revolving around fighting for others the whole time, not herself. Her romantic relationships are often complicated by external factors, going back to the romanticization of pain and sacrifice. Like, you know, she rarely gets wins in love. Like, her relationships often conflict due to external struggles from the person. Like, even when she's happy, it's more so focused on her struggles and joy. Like, we could just never see her be happy. Like, it seemed like she was conforming to being in a polyamorous relationship. Not that she wanted it. You know, if the writers maybe set it up earlier, but they were just getting so burned with her, you're like, let's put her in a throuple. You know what? Polyamory. It's woke. Malika could do it. She never just gets a moment of peace, and she never gets a sense of agency. She never gets to make her own decisions. She makes it for the good of her career, for the good of others, for the good of everyone but herself. And that's the same with Bonnie. I mean, Bonnie's life was completely sabotaged. Tony Topaz, she was written around Cheryl. Emily Fields, like, what kind of relationship was she even able to get into? And yet she was gay. Her relationships were frequently unstable, and she didn't have much control or autonomy that her white counterparts had. And the storyline still sucked. It still lacked. You were still on the sidelines. See, like, it's crazy how all of these characters, these are all different patterns, but all these characters could fall into these patterns, which makes you think maybe it's not an accident, but it's intentionally done that way because, just saying. And this is so draining because Black women in real life, we are often stripped of the agency of our narratives. TV reinforces this by kind of failing to give the Black female TV characters who are represented on our screens every Wednesday night or, you know, on streaming platforms or whatever, lack of agency themselves. And they really don't control their own futures. It kind of falls at the futures of everyone else. And it's unfortunate because not only shows that or tries to portray that Black women aren't as important and they don't have as much depth and that their futures are controlled by everyone else, but it really causes them to, you know, even be typecasted in places. Like, the fourth pattern is the tokenism and stereotyping. Ghetto Black girl or angry Black woman. You know, it's a lot of this reason why a lot of these characters have similar roles because, you know, writers don't even explore the potential possibilities and the intricacies of Black women and Black characters on television being written as outside of what they've deemed the stereotypical with a hint of undertone racism norm. You know, it causes them to be typecasted a lot. Only Black actor or the only Black female lead, or for a long time, everyone gives all the things to Amanda because she is the acceptable Black lead and Zendaya. And, you know, it's just like, yeah, it's a thing. And it's a pattern, and it's a chop. This kind of goes back to my last point to it, and all of this kind of like wraps in with each other, but Black female characters in TV are often included like to fill a quota. You know, I wonder with the removal of DEI, like, will we see Black women on TV at all? Because it's kind of like, you know, we don't see them often, and when they do see them, they're the side character that doesn't say much, or they're the side character that's fitting a certain stereotype. And I think that a lot of times these Black female characters are meant to meet diversity quotas, and they kind of, you know, they're not really explored and dug into as real people. And it's not real because it's a show, but if it's a TV teen drama, and I know about all these characters, and they have lines, and they have stories, and they have complex things that's going on, but when it comes to one girl, she's just a Muslim, and we talk about that for a day, and then we move on. Or Emily Fields, she's supposed to be the lesbian it-girl, she ain't gonna have no good relationships, and they all suck. She's making sure that A don't kill all of her other friends. Bonnie Bennett only had one love interest for real. She could have been with Damon, but the writers are racist. Josie McCoy, a talented Black girl in a setting where these characters sing every single season, but is written out with the whole band as one of the best singers. Josie and the Pussycat Dolls. Tokenism and stereotyping has definitely gotten better in the newer stuff. But I think when we see like certain stereotypes, it's not necessarily like intentionally. Like, I don't intentionally make my girl ghetto, but I intentionally put Malika in a position to where she is caring about activism and where she somehow is somewhere that's going to push her activism, and she's a black woman, she gotta activate, she's gotta power other people. And it's just a weird balance, and it doesn't feel balanced, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I didn't like it, and that's why I'm talking about it, because we're gonna get into it. Point blank period, this was so damning because tokenism allowed, you know, shows to appear diverse. You know, they have a majority class, which I can say for good trouble is appear diverse, but there's no real proper representation. It's like when Morphe comes out with 60 shades of foundation, but none of them are proper undertones. Or was it Morphe or was it Ariana Grande? Yeah, somebody trying to compete with Fenty. It's like that, right? Like, it's like good trouble. Let's throw on some whites. Some more whites, a fat white, Asian, black. That's enough. That's enough. Black guy, not main character. Perfect. Great. No. Sucks. Their own true, beautiful stories that aren't just rooted in pain, right? In conclusion to this, I think that black women in these TV shows and these examples that I mentioned are sidelined. Their pain and sacrifice is seen as being, you know, something romantic, something that they are known for, something that they would die for others, always sacrificing themselves, always sacrificing their wants, always sacrificing their needs for the good of the. What about for them? It's not disappointing, right? Because it would have been disappointing if I was a mom realizing that this is what they're showing my daughter, but it's more so damaging. Even now, I am actively unlearning what has been subliminally fed to me through these shows that I've watched. And of course, these shows are not the only place, right? Like, but they helped. There's 8 seasons of The Vampire Diaries. There's 8 seasons of Riverdale. Josie was only in a few. Tony made it. My challenge to you is, if you follow a black TV teen character in any of the shows I mentioned or for yourself, see how far they go. Follow their journey. And I'm not talking about on the All-American. I'm not talking about on a YouTube show with, you know, aspiring or obviously black cast. Follow on a show with an all-white cast, see where that black girl goes. Look where the black girl goes. Look where the black guy goes. Where we put him in, nobody knows. And it's getting better because we make a big deal about it, but I don't think that it was an accident. Like a lot of the things that television and pop culture and TV and movies try to reinforce in our minds today. And it's the reason why we're seeing a lot of these on TV teen dramas, because the youth are impressionable, even if they don't know it. Where we go from here? Hollywood needs to do better, duh. And we need to do better too. We deserve complex, well-written female black characters who are not just the stereotype or the quota or the sacrifice or the savior of all except for themselves, but seen as the lowest being. And if you never noticed it, well, you noticed it now. You noticed it now because I brought it up to you, and that just is what it is. Black girls in these stories and in the shows and things that I hope to continue watching on television and on television that we know of it as today with streaming are allowed to grow and dream and lead. You know, just like everybody else, I feel like we have been overdue for a TV teen drama with a black female lead not rooted in trauma. Do we even have that? Think about yourself. Why don't we have that?
I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay.
You guys, that is it for today's video. If you liked it, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And here at Chanel's World, we talk all things TV and pop culture, and we'll talk very soon.